The Fan.
Vikings.
Yeah, this is a story of famous dog. For the dog that chases its tail will be busy.
Have you noticed or paid close attention to Ben Goessling, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com, at Ben Goessling via Twitter, covers the Vikes for said newspaper. Have you noticed just how zany the league is this year? And it continued last night. I mean, it's the upsets and the blowouts.
Yeah.
And granted, Seattle rolling into the Giants and beating the Giants. I mean, that's not going to top, say a football exclusive website is, wow, did you see that? I can't believe that. But again, it was another blowout.
Yeah.
Where we're in a little trend right now where some teams are looking awful. I mean, like as bad as we've ever seen.
Yeah.
For long patches of games. And good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it has been a little bit strange and not quite sure what to make of it yet in terms of why that would be. But yeah, it seems like it's been just kind of up and down with a lot of teams early on that you think are probably a little further along than they've been. I think you could certainly put the Vikings in this mix. I think there's been, even the Eagles getting pushed by the Commanders on Sunday to the degree that they did. That's not one I would say, oh, yeah, that's how this game's going to go. So the teams that can kind of make it look like chalk every week, there aren't many of those doing that. I mean, heck, even the Chiefs have, that Sunday night game when Zach Wilson has a chance to go win the game is not something you'd expect either. So, yeah, it's been a little bit early, I think, for teams to separate themselves and say, yes, we are the teams at the top of the pecking order, so to speak.
And like with the Commanders and the Eagles.
Yeah.
All right. So Taylor Heineke rolls into Lincoln Financial and beats Philadelphia on Monday Night Football last year.
Yep.
So divisional games obviously can be a little different. But like you mentioned Kansas City with Zach Wilson and the game that was in New Jersey at MetLife. Does Kansas City give you the feel of a team jonesing for regular season thrills and just really couldn't care less if it blows out somebody?
A little bit. I wonder if they're at the point where, not to compare it quite to the NBA because it's a different thing, but I wonder if there's a little bit of wake us up when it gets to be December.
Right.
To quote the old Green Day song, wake me up when September ends, except they're probably saying wake me up when November ends, and it's time to actually get at it. And knowing we're going to be there, we're going to be playing deep into January anyway, maybe there's a little bit of that. That's dangerous, I think, to play that way in the NFL, but it could be a little bit of that too. We'll see. I guess we'll see on Sunday, won't we?
Yeah, I felt when I watched Eagles Patriots before Eagles Vikings that the Eagles just, here's Jalen Hurts dropping balls in lackadaisical fashion very late in the game. But they had a feel like we know we have you when we want you, and it's a 92% chance that it's going to work that way.
Right.
And I get that feel with the Chiefs, too, when I watch them it's like they're almost craving close games. It's like the old Lower Merion High School story with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Where Kobe, God rest his soul, allegedly would tank first halves of games so that he could single-handedly win it in the fourth quarter.
Let me see how interesting I can make this for myself.
And Joe Jellybean Bryant's kid generally came through with it. It just reminds me of that.
Yeah, I think with Patrick Mahomes, there may be a little bit of that where it's like, let's do something for, and you'd hear Jordan talk about this, and you get guys on that level, and I think Mahomes is trending towards that level where it's just, I have to find ways to motivate myself. I have to find ways to challenge myself. Yeah, I think that there's a fine line of that in the NFL just because of how few games there are and how small the margin for error is.
Good point.
It is, it's interesting in the way that they've played some of these. And I could certainly see human nature being what it is, that you might slip into that after winning a couple Super Bowls and kind of looking like you've hacked the code to the game, so to speak.
Will the Star Tribune, will the Strib potentially have somebody on Taylor Swift watch Sunday for a possible exclusive?
I don't know if we're getting an exclusive. That would be quite the get. But yes, there is a Taylor Swift. I hope I'm not giving any inside secrets away. There is a Taylor Swift planning team
Jeez.
on our Slack channel this week. I
wrote it down to set up an Andrew Kramer line.
Well,
but I didn't realize that it really was going to happen.
I think the hope, at least the hope on our side of things, is that it's mostly handled by others and not infiltrating the football side of things that much.
Yeah.
But
maybe it's Kramer.
Or
Rachel Blunt.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be a number of different people, and maybe outside of sports, involved in it. I would be surprised if I'm not towards the end of the week asked, hey, can you go ask somebody in the locker room about what their favorite? I mean, I'm fully expecting that's going to happen.
Well, before the end of the practice week.
Correct.
I see.
Yeah.
I
guess Byron Murphy kind of went there yesterday. Basically said, let's trash talk Travis Kelce about Taylor Swift on Sunday.
Right.
So.
Well, if I'm Byron, I'm more concerned about making sure Bryce Young next time doesn't miss a double move by Adam Thielen that could have tied the game at the end of the equation. But nevertheless, that's just me speaking. What about Howard Sinker? Howard Sinker on Taylor Watch. Some horse race tipping. Come on.
He's a web editor at this point, so I'm sure he will be moving some Taylor Swift copy. I would say this. I don't think the Star Tribune will miss the opportunity should Taylor Swift grace us with her presence on Sunday. I would imagine it will be well covered if she is in fact in the building.
What if she doesn't show up, though?
I'm beginning to know.
That feels very Minnesota-like.
Flyover country.
Front page, Star Tribune on Monday is she snubbed us.
Well, she's at a home game at Arrowhead, of course.
Yep.
MetLife Stadium, NYC-ish,
with
course.
Wolverine and Deadpool and Blake Lively.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those would make sense. But yes, I wonder if she'd be like, you know what, the European tour, because I think she goes overseas here in a little bit, and I can't believe I've actually tracked this.
Yes.
So I wonder if she'll say, we got to get back to rehearsals, got to get going, can't make it to this one, and then, the next time they're in LA or something, she goes with that. I don't know. It would be very us to have her skip it after going to New York.
Well,
certainly seemed fitting.
Right before you came in, I saw something via Twitter, TMZ, New York Post, or whatever, where it's like, for the first time, Travis and Taylor, Kelce and Taylor departed a game separately.
Uh-oh.
And then it's like, is something bitter happening? No, it's there. But it's there.
I'm sure it is. I don't doubt it. But that's where we are, I guess. Because the other one they rode off in the getaway car in the convertible.
Yeah. Well, when I saw that, and that was after the Arrowhead win.
Right.
Who'd they beat?
The Bears.
Yeah, thank you. That was after that game.
Yep.
No. Was it the Bears? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And they rode off in the convertible together.
Yep.
And I was thinking, wow. I mean, because Taylor Swift has more worldly appeal than Travis Kelce ever will have.
Exponentially more.
Times 20, and it's not close.
Yep.
But if you're Taylor Swift and you have the ability to leave a venue in a convertible with a friend or whatever, and no machine guns and security and walkie-talkies and earpieces around you, how peaceful and galvanizing that 15, even if it's just 15 minutes on the ride, that must be for her.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty rare that you get to do that. And people kind of say, well, wouldn't it be great to be that rich and famous? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure that it would. I think you just have people around you all the time, and it's just hard to have a moment to be quote unquote normal. And yeah, maybe that was that for her.
Ben Goessling at Ben Goessling via Twitter, if you'd like to follow, as 9 to Noon does. Excellent work as the beat writer covering the Minnesota Vikings for the Strib.
And Taylor Swift.
And Taylor Swift, where it's, I'm a CKOC today for the X's and O's sit down for the Wednesday night airing. I think maybe I should prep him that, hey, you know what? There's a really controversial one coming your way at the Wednesday press conference from Ben Goessling. Oh, what's going on? He's going to ask you about Taylor Swift. So have something in your back pocket. Okay. Do you think it would be Wednesday?
I think he will get asked about it. I don't know if it will be me, but I was trying to think, which boy band did Wink Martindale compare O'Connell to last year? Was Harry Styles, right? Wasn't that what he called him?
I don't know.
I don't think she's dated Taylor Swift. If it was somebody that had dated Taylor Swift, there could be a tie-in there. But I would expect he'll say something about it with the classic KOC Cheshire Cat Corinne at some point this week. I'm sure it'll
I'm just excited about the football game.
Me too.
I mean, all the Taylor Swift stuff running around. Yeah, apparently there's a football game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Mahomes and the aforementioned Kelsey. And by the way, this group of wide receivers, we're learning about Rashi and all these guys dropping all those passes. Chance to upset Mahomes. That's what I'm pumped about.
Yeah, same here. But I think this would fall under the category of striking the fire while the iron's hot or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a one-time, one little throwaway conversational thing. But I do have something for both of you here. You guys and we have seen almost 25% of the season. We're at 4 games of a 17. So prediction time. You first, Ben. From 1-3, will the Vikings finish the season with a winning record?
I still think that's very possible. I'm trying to think through the schedule. I mean, there's a couple this month that AJ Mansour is blowing up my phone and telling me that Harry Styles did, in fact, date Taylor Swift. So there is
cool.
Whatever connection is there.
Hey, AJ, you can text me anytime about Faith and Goal on Thursday, but anyway. Go ahead.
No, I think... I'm just trying to total up in my head the games that you would sit there and say these are going to be. I mean, the 2 toughest ones I think left on the schedule are this month.
Well, this is blowing up. I mean, Tatum Everett from the Vikings Entertainment Network just texted me now. Harry Styles and Taylor Swift have dated.
Okay.
Wow.
So there is that. So you could hit him with that question when you see him later today. Hey, you got compared to Harry Styles, Taylor Swift, your thoughts?
Jeez. Okay. So, yeah.
Of course, now we've talked about it. He's going to be warned about it before you come with him.
He may need to be ready for this.
He might.
When he gets ready for Reisner Oliver.
Yeah.
Well, what about Brandell under the cover of darkness, Kevin? Or Byron Murphy. God, we've all now seen the All-22 that's been posted. Byron Murphy been on a double move to Thielen. Bryce Young was looking right at Adam, and Bryce Young's confused. But those aren't going to be the most controversial of the questions. It's going to be Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, and you, and they're all coming from Goessling.
And Wink Martindale.
And Wink Martindale.
That would be such a heel turn from me. Just he'd be like, wait, what? You asking this? Okay.
Tatum, AJ, thank you guys very much for the help. So you said, what about you? From 1-3, Nordo?
I'm in on it. They have to get at least one game that if we were playing this before the season, W's and L's. Right now, I'm looking at they have to get either the Chiefs or the Niners game, but I would say that they must beat the Bengals in December. Now, the team started 1-3, and everything's weird with Burrow and company, but that's the game you got to play. They got to get one of those. The Broncos game looks a lot more gettable now, Sunday Night Football, week 12 or 13, than maybe it did with Peyton prior to the season.
I think a perfect November is gettable.
There you go. Absolutely it is. Once you start things off, I mean, it's Falcons and Saints. Let's run through that weird NFC South.
Yeah.
And then after that, again, that Broncos game, the Bears, to not sweep them is preposterous.
Right. Yep.
And even now with what we're seeing as you get more reps with Jordan Love, he has the right to improve. I like the idea of sweeping the pack this year. And so now we're playing that split with the Lions conversation through our heads. I think you're at 9. You're at 9, and with a chance to, again, let's shock the world, get ourselves to 10 with the 2 of the next 3 against the Chiefs and Niners.
Okay, Scribe, do you believe they will sweep Green Bay?
I think I think they will win at home. The question is, will they win at Lambeau? And given the fact that Jordan Love has looked as up and down as he is, it would be, I think, a harder thing to do to beat them in December at Lambeau when he's had a little more time to get things under his feet.
Unless they're terrible.
Right, that could be.
Because then you get some veterans who have, they're
cashed it in.
I'm not going to mention names, but they're 100%ers when there's a lot on the line. Yep. But, if it's cold and the team's bad and everything, it may be a little easier to score on them if they're bad in December there.
Sure. Yes. If it's 1-2-3 Cancun, there's a little bit of a different vibe to it for the vets. But yeah, I think it's certainly possible to sweep them. I think if you are a team that is serious about going to the playoffs, that is certainly a way to assert yourself. And yeah, I mean, the 2, and I wrote about this a little bit this morning in terms of, are they does a win in Carolina show that they're back? Does it show that they have a chance to make a run? I think we're going to have a lot better answer to that question at the end of this month between the Chiefs 49ers games and 2 division road games. If you come out of that with 3 of them, you're 4-4 and say, hey, we've won 3 times on the road and maybe split the home games against these 2 good teams. Yeah, you'd have every reason to feel good going into November and into the trade deadline, frankly.
Beautiful segue to the next part of the schedule, or will they finish with a winning record equation? How about that for a compound adjective? Tougher game. The Chiefs Sunday or the Niners in a few weeks here for Monday Night Football, both of y'all.
I'll start. I think it's the Niners, and I think it's not close. When you were talking earlier, Ben, about teams trying to separate themselves early, I think there's just one team in the NFL that's been successful doing that, and that's the Niners.
I agree.
Now, in that Rams game, they kind of bleeped around for a little bit before pulling away, and I think there was a field goal or something for McVay to cover and make it a little bit close at the end. But the Niners look unstoppable right now. All goes through McCaffrey. Multi-touchdown games here, there, and everywhere. The defense looks good. I think the Niners game is actually going to be tougher, primetime and all of that included, than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think that is an awfully complete team, both in terms of what they do defensively. It's a good offensive line. Christian McCaffrey is, when he's healthy, is on a different level, and certainly has looked like he's on a different level right now. All the weapons they have, I think, are a lot to deal with. Now, it's Brock Purdy. It's not Mahomes, but Purdy has looked awfully good, and they set up a lot of things to make his life, I think, fairly easy, at least as easy as it can be to be an NFL quarterback. I think the way that they play, when they can just decide, if we need to, we're just going to run it all day, and we're capable of doing that. I do think that's a tougher scenario to see them going in and beating the 49ers. It's a home game. It's going to be Monday night. People will be tuned up, whatever. But I do think that's a tougher one than the Chiefs.
Any idea why Addison went sans a reception at Charlotte?
Well, Cousins missed him on one. I think he had I think the play where he threw the pick. I think O'Connell said Sunday that was supposed to be trying Addison deep, and his arm got hit.
Oh, not the 99. Got it.
No, the
Grugier Hill.
Yes, the one that his arm got hit on the play and and it just kind of fluttered up. I think that was supposed to be for Addison, based on what O'Connell said about it. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, they just didn't run that many plays. Yeah. I mean, part of it, I think they had 44 offensive snaps. Cousins threw it like 18 times. I mean,
19,
it was a weird game script kind of day. I mean, both teams scored defensive touchdowns. I suppose that will change some of those things too. But it's a little hard with usage rates on this one just because they didn't have that many options to keep drives going. A lot of it is they really, I think, need to improve on third downs. I mean, and I know that O'Connell has talked about that too, but third down conversion rate right now is, I think, 21st in the league.
Whoa.
And you have a hard time extending drives if you can't convert those. They've run the ball more efficiently. You get in better third down situations as a result of that. But that's, I think, an area where they need to improve pretty quickly. And if you do that, you have more plays. Addison probably gets more opportunities as a result.
Do you believe, Dalton, from what you're hearing, I would imagine, Dalton Reisner is ready to play full-time guard if needed?
I think so. I haven't answered that question definitively. We were just discussing this, I think, in the media room yesterday of, is he fully ready to do it? And I think Ed Ingram, I mean, certainly has continued to struggle in facets of the game and did again on Sunday, but the fact that they are running the ball more efficiently, I do think he has been helpful in that regard. So that may have held things off a little bit here, but I'm curious to ask about that a little more this week in terms of how far along they feel like he is picking things up. My assumption would be that he's pretty close to ready, and they said he's been available, and I know they had him doing some first team work last week, and I think at both those guard spots. But yeah, it is one of those things that when they paid him what they paid him, you'd think you're going to see him fairly quickly, and if it goes 2-3 weeks without it, then you start to say, well, okay, is this is something different going on here? We'll have to see how that one shakes out. I think that's certainly worth watching this week.
Now I may have missed this with the KOC with the head coach, and because of being on the radio, I don't get a chance to at least live listen to Brian Flores.
Yeah,
and I'll do my best to listen back to it sometimes. But has anybody been pressed or asked about Brian Asamoah And specifically that first game where he didn't get any defensive snaps and Ivan Pace played 61. I mean, he in bona fide fashion, the undrafted rookie has usurped a spot they absolutely believed would go to him.
Yes, he has. And I think a lot of it has been a credit to Pace. I think it's been Pace showing that he is trustworthy in that spot. And Brian Flores wasn't here when they drafted Brian Asamoah. And obviously, he's worked with him now for a while. But he's talked about back to the Senior Bowl was when Ivan Pace kind of caught his eye and he thought this kid can be something in this. Well, I suppose at that point, the Senior Bowl, I think he would have still been working for the Steelers, right? I mean, I'm trying to remember the timing of when he got hired, but at any rate,
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been talking to linebackers there too, but he said as soon as that, I thought this kid can be something. So I think a lot of it is that's kind of Brian Flores' guy, Pace. And some of it has been the more you show you can handle it, the more I'm just going to give you the opportunities and somebody's going to have to come take it from you.
Yeah, and you know, it's clear Ivan Pace Jr. craves contact. He craves it. He looks for it. He likes it. And if he's on the wrong side of, hey, a couple of metaphorical rams met on the prairie and boom, the horns lock together and he gets the worst of it, he jumps up and like taps the other guy. Nice job, goes back. Yeah. And I'm not going to go super far down the road on this because I don't really know the answer as to whether Asamoah craves contact. Because if in that position as an inside linebacker, if you are avoiding contact, well, that's a major problem.
It is.
So there has to be something contact related with the opposing offense that I believe is playing into this. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think the part of that, and I'm kind of with you in terms of Pace craving that and gravitating towards that, I think that's absolutely true. And I suppose if you're going to play the way he does at his size, you have to either sort of make peace with that or embrace it. And I go back to, I think it was his high school coach, maybe. Mark Craig did a story on Ivan Pace back at training camp, and the coach said, I think the quote was, he's going to hit you in the face with a crowbar for 60 minutes.
Okay.
Like a heck of a quote, but details the way that he plays the game.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it has certainly endeared him to Brian Flores, to Mike Saravo, to Mike Pettin, to the guys on this coaching staff making decisions about how these linebackers are going to be used. And he's shown that he can handle a lot of different things. So I think a lot of it for him early has been the way that he plays, the way that he absorbs things, the way that he adds a physical element, even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, has helped his case quite a bit.
The scribe, Ben Goessling, with some money-like information involving Minnesota Vikings football. And speaking of money, here comes that cash thing.
The Fan and two men in a junk truck. They want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand. So go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword deposit, and you might win $1,000. KFAN.com.
KFAN, The Fan.
Into the second half of the radio presentation, Star Tribune columnist Lavelli Neal III. About 30 minutes from now, he'll be at Target Field. Some Twins-related texting and some KOC cuts. Kevin O'Connell from his press conference yesterday. Smoke from that distant fire at about 11:15. It's Paul Allen, 9 to noon, with Ben Goessling, who covers the Minnesota Vikings for the Star Tribune in studio. Nice enough starting last year to stop by on Tuesdays, and he also joins Dan Barrero each and every Friday. Vikings and Chiefs, 3:25 from the Palatial Purple Palace this Sunday. The pregame on KFAN begins at 1:30.
You know, one thing we were kind of alluding to last segment is the aura or the vibe around the team now that they've finally won one. Whether it was fan line, it was overtime, it's the text machine, it's Twitter, it's everything. That it's, we got to win, but it was against the Panthers. So when you look at things, whether it's 2 games in a row now with effective running, save for that tipped arm forcing the pick that Kirk threw while targeting Addison, as you mentioned as well. I thought the O-line played a bit better and did some nice things against that defensive front of Carolina. You know, how have you analyzed it over the last couple of days? And with the Chiefs on the horizon, what kind of vibe or faith or lack of faith or scrutiny are you putting on things following, by the way, a victory?
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of things to like about the way they played it, particularly defensively, I think, in the second half. I mean, they gave up 3 points without the Panthers setting it up off of a turnover. I mean, it was that opening field goal drive, and that was it, other than stuff where it's a pick six or you get set up by a field goal or the Kirk Cousins pick for halftime to get the second field goal. So that plus the blitz working better. I think Marcus Davenport made an awfully big difference.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like there, and I thought they were certainly more effective protecting Cousins and also opening holes up. I do think it's more convincing if it's against a more complete opponent, because there were things I think that worked against Bryce Young that an older quarterback who's been around a little bit longer may have a little more ability to decipher or improvise on the fly. I mean, certainly if some of these things work against Patrick Mahomes, you're going to say, okay, there's actually a foundation here that you can build with and go from there. I think the vibe around them certainly seemed like, and we've talked about it, you could see it last week where they needed a win just to start to feel better about it and feel like this thing is still moving in the right direction. I mean, Justin Jefferson, unprompted last week, says, I'm sick of people talking about trades. I mean, he brought that up on his own in his press conference last week, and it was like, he's seeing all these rumors, he's seeing all this stuff on Twitter. We don't need to be doing this because we're still focused on this season, and we think we still have a team that can make a run here. So winning is step one to that. I think the bigger steps come in these games the rest of the month. If you can say, if you grab Sunday and you win it, then I think people start to say, all right, we see what you're talking about, and this is actually has a chance to get back on track.
It was interesting just kind of listening to Kevin O'Connell. PA and I talked about this last week. You could hear it. You know, a year ago, you're winning all those one-score games, and everything's fun. And then you start 0-3, and you could even feel it through the words of the coach.
Yeah.
And he's a millennial, so he wears things on his sleeve like all of us kids do. But you could tell he needed positivity to get back into that mix.
Yep.
And so now he sounded a hell of a lot different following awesome post-game speech. We're back on the winning side of things, saw good things. And a question I asked PA yesterday, I'll ask you the same thing. Marcus Davenport, the reason I link all of this in is when he was talking about injury updates. We think Garrett Bradbury is going to be in the mix. Ultimately, he's not on Sunday against the Panthers. And then Marcus Davenport, well, he's doing some good things, and we hope to see him on the field this week. He comes in, and he is an absolute. Harrison Smith and those sacks and the way he was deployed was really the story of the game. But Marcus Davenport making all of the differences. How often is it within a defense or really any aspect of the game where you see one player coming back and instantly making the type of difference that a Marcus Davenport did on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty significant, I thought, because they have played a lot of these packages where it's like one down lineman and 5 linebackers and 5 defensive backs, or even they had some on Sunday where it was no defensive lineman and they played all these linebackers basically doing the same thing. Part of the reason they thought that would work, and they got run all over in Philadelphia when they ran this stuff, but part of the reason they thought it would work is because Marcus Davenport has enough size to make up for some of what you don't have with down linemen. Because whether it's Davenport or Hunter or Patrick Jones or DJ Wanham, all of these guys have played defensive line in a 4-3, so it doesn't probably make as big of a difference as it might seem based on who they're lining up and what position they're listed at on the roster. But Davenport is, of those edge rusher types, probably the most physically imposing just in terms of being the biggest and able to take up the most space. So I think they feel like you can run those packages more effectively when you have him. And you certainly saw that Sunday. Now, that's not the Eagles. That's not the Eagles running game as developed as it is. It's not the Eagles offensive line. But Davenport, both in the pass rush and then has a tackle for loss in the first half, puts a great spin move on the guard. He really, I think, it looked markedly different with him in there. And I was not expecting, number one, I didn't expect he'd play as much as he did.
Yeah.
And number two, I certainly didn't expect that he would be as disruptive as he was through a lot of that game.
Well, I don't ever recall seeing him play the role he played in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, he is 4-3 right defensive end. And,
right.
and he may have stood up, at times in certain packages, specifically like 3-3-5.
Yep.
Say Dennis Allen may have unfurled with the New Orleans Saints, but this is new to him, and he's had Marcus Davenport. It's at least from the brief experience I have with him, and I'm curious to see if you agree with this. He's a smart guy.
Yeah,
I mean he's a sharp guy.
Yep.
You could just kind of tell that he picks up things quickly. But, I mean, this role that he was playing, and I know the few times you're mentioning with Hunter threatening to the right of Young.
Yes.
Davenport threatening to the left of Young.
Yep.
And Wanham and Jones inside.
Right.
Or then one of the others would go inside, and they were flashing in the A gap.
Yep.
And that was new. And you can't do it without Davenport. So that has the potential of being incredibly effective the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think it does because, I mean, some of it, you look at those first three games, Danielle Hunter was like the only guy. I mean, I think he had 4 of their 5 sacks in the first 3 and was the only guy that was getting consistent pressures. If Davenport is in that mix, both on his own and I think to set things up, you can just play off of it a lot more effectively because you can throw different packages and you can try to confuse quarterbacks, but you still need people that can consistently beat offensive linemen, get into the backfield, make teams have to adjust protections toward them, and then you get all the free runs off of that. And really, I mean, Harrison Smith, on a couple of those sacks, he was the first one to say it after the game. He was a free guy coming off the line because nobody's blocking him, and you can take advantage of those things. I think the stuff they're doing there becomes a lot more effective when 2 of those pass rushers are the people that offensive coordinators are saying, okay, we have to worry about this guy, figure out where he's lined up, maybe slide protections toward him. That stuff makes everything more effective over the course of the next however long everybody's healthy enough to execute this thing.
Terrific work, my brother. I appreciate you, and I'll see you out there tomorrow.
Yes, it should be fun to talk football, but I would be remiss. AJ sent a few more things. So to close the loop on the Harry Styles thing,
AJ Mansour,
he said there are 3 Taylor Swift songs about Harry Styles, including Style, which was a big hit. He says one of her more amicable still friends breakups. So he is up to date on all of the Taylor Swift gossip. Just figured we'd make sure the listeners were well informed before we close this segment out.
That's terrific that he's listening. And with all of that style / Swift related knowledge, I'll just say that's cool too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's lots of,
it's interesting.
We hit a lot of different facets of the whole thing today.
We covered more ground than Lewis and Clark. All right. Have a wonderful
The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. 9 to noon. You heard Mike Pettin talking about Patrick Mahomes. Vikings hosting the Chiefs this weekend. Looking forward to that. But News du Nord brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. Live racing season's ended, but you're feeling the felt there all year round. Poker, blackjack, table games, Tuesday night bingos, all of those things. You can go to CanterburyPark.com for all event details.
Yeah, Tuesday. We got bingo tonight, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have bingo tonight. Yeah, I think we have bingo tonight. You can find out at the website, CanterburyPark.com, like you said. Let me ask you a quick question about Danielle Hunter before you commence.
Yeah.
Was Danielle Hunter's sack from this weekend, was it pulled away? I mean, I thought he had 6 sacks. I thought into the game he had 5. And I've now looked at 4 different websites, including Vikings.com, and they all have 5. I thought he had 6 because I thought, like, even during the call, I'm like, I don't know what TJ Watt has done today, but if he doesn't have a sack, Danielle is tied for the most sacks in the National Football League.
Well, DJ Wanham has a sack now.
All right.
And Danielle Hunter does not have a sack from Sunday's game. Because it was 3 for Harrison Smith, 1 for Marcus Davenport, 1 originally Hunter.
Yeah.
But according to, I just pulled up ESPN.com real quick, and they gave the sack to Wanham instead.
Really? Because I recall Davenport, like I said in the call, Davenport started it and Hunter finished it. And I thought it was Hunter with the solo sack. It wasn't? My bad.
I did too. But, okay, he had a fumble return touchdown and a sack on Sunday.
Right.
Congratulations to him.
Sorry to divert the plan.
No, it's all good. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for just smashing those Giants last night.
Jones is going to throw. Throws near side. Ball picked up. Witherspoon comes near side. Down the sidelines. Jones chasing him. He comes back inside. Picks up blockers. Still being chased. Witherspoon far side. 20, 15, 10, 5. He is in. Holy catfish. Witherspoon went a mile and a half.
That's, I believe, part of a 97-yard pick six that the Illinois cat, Devin Witherspoon.
I think it's
Holy
Devon.
Catfish.
Yeah. Is it Devin or Devon?
I thought it was Devin, but
it doesn't matter.
Devin Devon, the Illinois kid's good, and Pete Carroll loves him.
He was the 6th overall pick in the draft until they showed it last night. And then, they did this little expose on him, and he made a wonderful play. So then they do this little feature on him. Then the very next play, and I loved this about Witherspoon. It's the point I'm getting to. I almost put it on Twitter. Then I'm like, niet. But he whiffed on a tackle on Paris Campbell on a 3rd and long. And it put Graham Gano in position to kick a 55-yard field goal. So then they pan over or whatever. They put the camera on Witherspoon on the bench as they go to break. Slams his helmet down. He's mad. He whiffed on that tackle.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, then Gano ain't hitting it from 57 or 58 or 59. And I'm like, wow, man, that guy's got some dog to him. I really appreciate that professional approach you just took right there.
And he had a great night last night. Everybody except for Daniel Jones and the Giants offense seemed to have a good night last night. Daniel Jones, how about this, by the way? Not awesome. And you heard him on the bad end of that pick six. $92 million guaranteed as part of that 4-year, $160 million extension they gave him. The Giants have massive O-line issues. They just gave record cash to their left tackle, Andrew Thomas, as well. He didn't even play.
Right.
They can't run the ball. Saquon's hurt. Matt Breida's not a serious option at that spot for them. Their defense isn't as formidable as Dexter Lawrence made things look against the Vikes last year. They've been outscored, the Giants have, 64-3 in 2 primetime home games this season. But they beat the Purple in the playoffs last year, so that's cool. The Giants are...
Remember when we made Isaiah Hodgins a thing?
Yeah.
Hodgins was a thing against us 2 times.
Correct, yeah. and Hodgins, actually, I think still is their thing because Wan'Dale Robinson is very in and out there. Yeah. Darren Waller consistently... He's starting to get the nicked-up vibe again with them.
I don't like him. I never have.
And so everything... There's different shades. All you Vikings fans out there... You should be pissed about the 1-3. But there are different 1-3s in the NFL universe where the Vikings, you have a nice looking schedule as things turn over to November and beyond. The Giants at 1-3 look like there's no freaking hope.
Right.
So that was just an ugly one. One of many primetime ugly ones early on. You mentioned it with Goessling. That just a lot of weird games, a lot of blowouts, and just kind of an odd start through 4 weeks of the NFL season. Minnesota Twins, part of the Major League Baseball playoffs, and final hour going to be dedicated a lot to it. But Rangers and Rays at 2 p.m., Diamondbacks at Brewers, 6 p.m., and then Marlins and Phillies at 7. Ooh, Luzardo and Wheeler. Go Marlins, go Luis Arraez.
Yeah, that Jesus Luzardo, Zach Wheeler pairing really does it for you, doesn't it?
Oh, are you kidding me? It's an extra cup of coffee.
Okay.
But Gaussman /Gosman / however you say it, and Lopez.
It's Gosman.
I think it is too.
I watched highlights last night from San Francisco and Toronto.
Perfect. So it's Gosman and Lopez, 3:30. First pitch around 3:38. The playoff roster is out. And whether it's the Twins X/Twitter page, you can see that listing. Notable absentees from that list would be Byron Buxton and Bailey Ober. Neither of those are on the series roster for the Minnesota Twins.
It's Devin Witherspoon. Well done.
Is it Devin?
Yeah, it's Devin.
Okay, perfect.
Well, it's spelled Devon.
Oh, it is.
It's pronounced Devin.
Okay. Devin it is. Devin. He's awesome, and he was nicked up in training camp, and now he's there, and he's making plays. How about Jamal Adams last night? I don't want to rag on a player, even though I think that he was way overdrafted and has had an underwhelming career, and the Jets absolutely fleeced them in that trade that sent Jamal Adams to the Seahawks.
Yep.
But he comes back last night early in that game.
Yep.
I forget who the receiver was. Absolutely stones a guy.
Yep.
And the entire Seahawks sideline acted like Raheem Morris and those Falcons when they were coming in here winless.
That was unbelievable.
It was crazy. But then gets kneed in the head.
Done.
Like 2 plays later, finally comes back, played 9 snaps last night. I mean,
and wanted to fight their certified athletic trainer and medical staff as they tried to escort him to the tunnel. Hey.
And he did not look like he knew where he was. So that's awful. He's been underperforming, but that was a tough moment. But that defense from Tariq Woolen, you got to bend the knee a bit to Pete Carroll with where he finds these guys, how he identifies these sorts of talents. And although he's a 6th overall pick, so you want to hit on him in the first place, Witherspoon's another good one for him.
Now, that's News du Nord, courtesy of Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. We head to Target Field to discuss the Twins and the Blue Jays and much more with Wobble Wobble, Lavelli Neal III, columnist for the Star Tribune. That's coming up next on KFAN.